Hey, everybody. Welcome to Jets Talk Now. I'm Paul Fiore. Please click like and subscribe. Thanks for joining today. We're going to start our off-season talk and how we can focus as Jet fans on things that maybe are less about the discourse of how bad the team's been, whether Aaron Glenn should have been fired or not, and more about what can happen between now and the beginning of the season that maybe gets us feeling a little bit better about what the future might look like. Because, I mean, this was a historically bad year. I'd say 75% of the fan base feels strongly that Aaron Glenn's not the answer. And the point of my video today is not to debate whether he should or shouldn't have been fired, because I think it's an irrelevant conversation to have. I mean, as one individual, it might be interesting to have people debate it back and forth, but that's not what this video is today. So for me, it's more about rehabilitating the New York Jets, and rehabilitation is desperately needed right now because, you know, you're coming off a 3-14 season. The season before that was 5-12, and the season before that was 7-10. So you actually directionally have gone the wrong way of the last 3 years. And now you're going into 2026 with more holes in the roster than I think I can remember since the Gase years and the first year of Saleh. And a defense that is completely barren of talent, really. And no quarterback to speak of on the roster who would be an NFL starting quarterback. A head coach that hasn't proven anything except that he talks a lot about his plan, but the plan hasn't been visible for anyone to really see at this point. So the Jets need a lot. And I think trying to be fair to this regime, since they have been brought back for a second year, let's try to focus on what steps can happen that, not that this is going to turn things around overnight. It won't. It's not like you're going to go from a 75-25 fan base wants you removed to 75-25. They love you before the season begins, right? That's not going to happen. But I think that there are things that can happen between now and the preseason that maybe makes you feel slightly better about directionally where this organization's going, directionally whether Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji are capable of improving and growing. Because let's be honest, Aaron Glenn in his first year as a head coach had a ton of rookie mistakes. Some of them are common rookie mistakes that I think any rookie head coach can make. And then others I feel like he brought upon himself. And, you know, I think you know, when you come in here and you talk the way he did, I get there was an intentionality behind it, which was I'm going to be this culture warrior that changes how people view the New York Jets. But, you know, you add that onto some of the tension he had with the media in general, and I think just in general the lack of humility that he had when he came into the role didn't help him. So do I think he genuinely thought that he was going to take a 5-12 team and make them very competitive this year with Justin Fields as the quarterback? I do. I think he came in with a plan. I think he came in with a plan thinking that, hey, these guys were 5-12. They were poorly coached, which they were. I'm going to move Aaron Rodgers. I'm going to bring in Justin Fields. We're going to run an offense that will allow us to minimize his mistakes, maximize the run game, keep the score low, bring in a guy like Wilkes, who's an experienced defensive coordinator, run the San Francisco system that he ran when he was there, and win these knockdown, drag-out type games. The harsh reality is he probably overjudged the roster talent. Steve Wilkes was pretty damn bad. And Justin Fields was worse than his previous track record. So it blew up. And 7 games in, he tore up the roster, which I actually think was the right thing to do. And here we are today. So what we have today is discourse and anger and frustration. If you go online in any social media form, it's just fans fighting with each other. No one allows for context or nuance in their arguments. They're either pro Glenn or anti Glenn, and they're steadfast in their belief. And it's a lot like the country, and like you go in your corner and you take your position and you don't want to hear anybody else. So I'm gonna try and talk through the 3 things I think in general that he can do this offseason that have nothing to do with players right now. Let's not even talk about free agency or the draft. There'll be time for that. But what can he do in a way to help rehabilitate his image a little bit? And maybe more importantly, show that he's learned something and that there's the possibility of growth in year 2. Because at the end of the day, as Jet fans, why you would be rooting for this man to fail is beyond me. You can feel strongly that he will fail. That's fair. But actively rooting against him to fail so you can wipe out this regime is just a strange place to be to me. And it's not me, raising pom-poms, cheering him on and having goggles on about Aaron Glenn. I just think if you're a fan of the team, do you care about being right, or do you care about them winning? So, I think he's going to be poorly. I think his run as head coach is going to go poorly. He wasn't my first choice or my second choice, but I don't care. I want him to be successful. I said this in a previous, segment. In a lot of ways, he's a massive underdog now, so I'm going to root for the underdog. But what can he do? Well, it's Thursday, and the coaching staff is still intact. Obviously, we still have this hole at defensive coordinator, but teams have continued to announce changes, removal of coaches, both at the top and at the coordinator level, and the Jets have not. They fired Wilkes after week 13, I believe. So that's an obvious opening that we can talk about here. But I think he has, and he said this in his end of season press conference. He was non-committal on his coaching staff and said that evaluation process was continuing this week. So I'm going to sit here with the hope that if he's going to improve, one of the things that he will do is make changes to the broader coaching staff, not just DC, right? So, defensive coordinator, yes, you've got your usual, you got the names out there that everybody keeps talking about. Jim Schwartz, potentially, Wink Martindale, Raheem Morris, Jim Leonard, Al Harris. Those are names that people keep bringing up. But the Jets aren't going to be the only team looking for a DC. And, how attractive is the DC job for these guys coming from other places where they may have opportunities? But more broadly in the coaching staff, Aaron Glenn has to look at his offensive staff. Like, if you want to give Tanner Engstrand a second year, I'm not going to say he doesn't deserve a second year, because I feel like the man was handed the worst quarterback situation in the NFL. And I saw glimpses of what he was trying to do that made sense, that I thought maybe he could become a good offensive coordinator, So I would give him a year 2 if I couldn't land some big fish OC. And it's not likely you would land a Kingsbury, excuse me, or even a Mike McDaniel for that matter at this point, right? He just got fired. But he's not going, he's not going to be here. And that's the thing. This is what I was trying to say. So if Aaron Glenn's looking at his coaching staff, he's looking at the offensive side of the football and he goes, all right, well, keeping Engstrand. How do we feel about our quarterbacks coach? How do we feel about our wide receivers coach? How do we feel about our positional player coaches? I believe over the next few weeks, he has to revamp the staff, offense and defense. And I think who he brings in at DC will show you how much juice Aaron Glenn has as a head coach going into year 2. Because is he gonna land the hot coordinator prospect that people want? Or is he going to find someone that just is willing to take the job? Because that's part of the problem for the Jets right now is building a professional staff around the head coach who's he wants to be the CEO, right? That requires you to have a reputation within the league and belief around the league that you know what you're doing, 1, that you have the support of ownership, 2, and 3, it's going to benefit your career. If you don't see those things as a coordinator, you're going to look for other opportunities besides the New York Jets. And that has been this vicious cycle for a while now, right? Like everybody that came through the Jets staff with Glenn for year 1, they weren't other people's first choices. Like Steve Wilkes wasn't anybody's first choice as a DC. He was an experienced guy that wanted the job and took the job, right? And I get why Glenn did it, but it turned out to be a disaster of a hire. Tanner Engstrand was passed over for our OC in Detroit. Now that might have been a bad decision, but that's what happened. And you can go down the list: Charles London and Turner and all these guys. Jefferson was a holdover. The coaching staff. The only one that was like an inspirational hire that turned out to be really like an inspired hire, not call it inspirational, was Banjo. Banjo was this young former football player, coordinator, not previously a coordinator. They brought him in and he crushed it, right? So can you get more of those types of guys? Would a Jim Leonard want to come here or not? I mean, he's a former Jet. He's very well regarded in the league. You'd have to really pull some strings to get him to say yes. Right? Like that's what I want to see. So for me, the coaching staff, a couple of things. Do not go status quo with your offensive staff. Make changes. You're going to have a rookie quarterback more than likely. You need infrastructure for this kid. What does that infrastructure look like? Glenn was asked that question in the presser. Wasn't a great answer, honestly. But again, I care less about the answer and the words and more about the action. So make changes to the offensive staff and bring in people that will inspire confidence with their resume. Maybe we don't know them. Like the average fan's not going to know some of these names, right? Like when the Jets made the decision to bring in Scott Turner last year, I mean, I just pulled his resume and was like, all right, not in love with what I see. Charles London, I didn't know who he was. I looked him up. I'm like, not a fan, right? Obviously, we know Steve Wilkes. So the headline name will be the defensive coordinator. Who is that? Is it here's what I think. This is me, just personal opinion. If he gets a Wink Martindale, yes, he's a name. He's better. He's an upgrade over Wilkes, but it's a lot of the same type of thing. He's not a guy that I think is being chased in the league to be a DC. He's in college this year, right? So Wink would be an upgrade, and he's going to bring all kinds of personality and fire, which maybe that's what they need. But that would not make me feel like, oh, Aaron Glenn has pull. Go get a Jim Leonard. Go get a Jim Schwartz. If he got a Jim Schwartz in here, I mean, that would inspire some. How do you think the self-reflection as a fan? If Jim Schwartz became the defensive coordinator for the New York Jets, you wouldn't feel better? You would. Wink Martindale, I think you'd feel better, but I don't think you'd feel like you do with Jim Schwartz as a name. I think people get excited about Jim Leonard, even though he hasn't been the DC yet, because of what his reputation is. Give us a name and someone who's got this resume that people can get attracted to. That's a big deal. And if he brings in a retread or someone that's like from his Detroit staff, I'm going to feel less inspired by his ability to pull talent here, because it's going to matter in free agency too. On the offensive side of the ball, who's your QB coach? Is it Charles London again? Please no. I think that they should move on from Jefferson as the wide receivers coach. I mean, he was a holdover. Yes, your quarterback situation was terrible, but when Garrett Wilson's your leading wide receiver and he played less than 50% of the snaps, what are we doing? You want to keep your offensive line coach cool. I think that's reasonable and understandable. But bring in some senior voices in the room that can help Tanner really make a good, strong offensive game plan for next year. And you know what? Make sure Tanner has a voice in the quarterback decision. If you're going to bring him back, which it seems very clear he's coming back. Now watch, I'll finish this and he's getting fired. But if you're bringing him back, let him have a say in these kids that they're looking at as quarterbacks. Who would be the guy that would fit what he's trying to run on offense? If Aaron Glenn is truly being a CEO head coach, he's not involved in game planning on offense. So if you're delegating that responsibility, make sure that the personnel you're bringing in fits what your coach wants to do. I just feel like it was a big mismatch this past year, especially at the top with Fields. So coaching staff's a big deal. I think over the next few weeks, we're going to see, are there things that make you feel better about Glenn? And as those hires happen, I'll come on and talk about them and give my perspective on whether they were good decisions or not. But right now, it's a TBD. The coaching staff is the number one priority. Let's see what he does. Number two, media and general PR strategy. I don't understand the New York Jets organization in general. I feel like these guys need coaching. And PR coaching is a real thing. In my other life, I've had PR coaching. What to say, what not to say in interviews when you're in the public eye. How to handle difficult questions. These aren't like strenuous PR sessions. They are good tips and pointers on what you could do to not give people a reason to pile on when things aren't going well. I believe Aaron Glenn's a good dude. I believe that Aaron Glenn is probably a real likable guy in private life. I do believe that Aaron Glenn came in here with a chip on his shoulder, and a bravado and lack of humility that did not, after the opening press conference, did not do him any favors. Too much time was spent on talking about guys not being coached previously. It's a direct shot at the previous regime. There's no need for that at all. Not when you come in and you have a worse season than the previous regime did. And again, I'm not defending Saleh in any way, but you can't come in here and start talking about guys need to be coached better. Or same with Fields. We're going to let him play quarterback. We're going to coach him up. It implies he wasn't coached well previously. And by the way, the players took that same message into their training camp. I mean, I remember seeing interviews where guys talked about the same stuff. It was like the shots that were being taken. I mean, it's so much eggs on your face when you make those proclamations, and then you have a year like they just had, and you can't point to anybody that was on the previous team and seen an improvement of any kind of substantial way. I mean, your best players were guys you maybe brought in during the season. So I would say be more thoughtful, be more engaging in your answers. And when the press is asking you a question, the combativeness works when you're really doing well and winning. It doesn't work when you haven't proven anything yet as a head coach. Bill Belichick could do what he wanted to do with the press because he was a winning head coach. Now he's failing in North Carolina, and every time he gets interviewed, they just trash him and they go after him. It's a "what have you done for me lately" league, and Glenn hasn't done anything yet. So I would say to him, get some PR training. Learn how to have the nuance with the media where you're answering their questions in a respectful manner, not that you're buddy-buddy with them. And you can absolutely show some attitude when you feel like there was a question that was out of bounds. But let's be honest, as much as people may not like some of these guys on the beat, most of those questions were fair and honest questions that us as fans would want answers to. So I think that Glenn needs to be thoughtful. I think that Glenn needs to be a little bit more humble and not lean into, this. I'm not trying to take away his personality, but like this defiant, us against the world attitude where everyone's just throwing stones at you. Like, it comes across as a guy who's got rabbit ears. And I had said this earlier in the year. It's like he pays too much attention to social media. He pays too much attention to what's happening on TV. During the season, he references nonstop what people say about the team, what people say about the players. I mean, who cares? We're not the same old New York Jets. Well, you are. You're right now. You are. You have to own what you are. So, like, to me, it's just take it down a few notches, eat some humble pie, and I feel like he did a little bit of that towards the end. He was very accountable at the end of that press conference. Said it was on him. He did not blame. Maybe this is a lesson he learned. He didn't blame the roster. He didn't blame the previous regime. He said wins and losses are on him. He felt like he let the team down, and he wants to, he's going to be better. And that's fine. It was a good answer. But, just what worries me about a guy like him is if they go out and win a couple of games to start the year, God willing, does he all of a sudden become that guy again? And it's too soon to do that. Like, you need to build up credibility, build up your resume before you want to become that guy. Like Rex, Rex came in here with all this bravado and then he won right away. So it kind of worked. But then remember when Rex was failing and he still had that attitude and it was just kind of wore thin. Now, some people have very nostalgic views on Rex, and I was one of those guys, never wanted Rex fired. But let's not forget about how much of a complete disaster the last couple of years were for Rex. And a lot of the emptiness and hollowness of the words that were coming out of his mouth where they were getting their doors blown off. So I just think that Aaron Glenn needs to understand, take a lesson there in humility, and just be better with the media in general. Which leads me to my last point. He's got to talk less and do more. Nobody cares that you say you have a plan and that fans should trust you. It is the worst message possible to be 3-14, and even throughout the year saying the message to fans was, I want to build a team that you're going to be proud of. Okay, don't let go of the rope. Trust me, we have a plan. The New York fan has zero patience right now for, trust me, bro, I have a plan. They don't have patience for that. And the truth is, you pivoted on your plan and you didn't acknowledge it. wouldn't it have been smarter? Like if you came into this season and we're like, okay, we have a plan to help us be competitive, and we're going to do these different things, and we're going to coach these guys up, and we're going to play a certain brand of football, blah, 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 all that stuff. Now you're 0-7. You go trade Sauce. You go trade Quinnen. And you go, honest take. You go, look, season hasn't gone the way we wanted it to. We're pivoting a bit from what our original plan was, because at this point now we need to build for the future. And the best way to do that is to trade valuable assets to bring in draft capital who will be part of the future of this team. So you acknowledge that you pivoted from the plan. To just say you have a plan the entire time when everyone has seen you pivoting away from it over and over. You had a plan with Justin Fields. You pivoted away from Justin Fields. You went to Tyrod Taylor. You pivoted away from Tyrod Taylor. I mean, you had a plan with Steve Wilks. You fired Steve Wilks. Don't say you have a plan. And trust me, say less, do more. Say less. And if you're going to say things, talk about things that are actually tangible. The references to the Jacksonville Jaguars game as ways to show the type of team you want to be was ridiculous. Defending Justin Fields and how long he held the football was ridiculous. Like, it should have just been, like, to me, if someone says, Justin's holding the ball in a historically long time, he's one of the longer ones in the league, what do you say to that? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. We have to do a better job on offense. We have to get the ball out to our open guys. And we're working on that with Justin. Done. Instead, it's like this whole defense, and we come up with this reason, and it's like you're twisting yourself in knots. And you know what people come away with? They feel like you're being disingenuous when you do that. When you are spending all of your time trying to explain yourself, you usually come across disingenuous. You're better off saying less and just doing more. We agree, it's a problem, we're working on it, right? Acknowledge, pivot, fix. Glenn needs to, and I didn't like the end of the press conference when he said, we have a plan, we need the fans to trust us. Like, I don't like that. And he did come back and say, we need to earn their trust, which is really number one. I believe deep down the man wants nothing but to be successful here. Absolutely. I think he loves being a Jet. I think it's in his blood. I think he relates to everything that is the New York Jets. So I think it's unfair to call him disingenuous. But like I said, when you're twisting yourself in knots to try to explain away things that are really not explainable, then it doesn't come across well. So speak less, do more. Don't talk about a plan, implement a plan. Right? I would have liked to have heard more about that from Muji and Glenn in the end of season presser. Look, to me, this is the easiest thing. Like, and I don't know shit about building a roster, right? But like, if I came out and my team was terrible and it was a bad year, and by God's good grace, I'm getting a year 2, I'd come out and be like, look, we finished 3-14, completely unacceptable. I own that. It's my responsibility as the guy in charge to put a better product on the field for this fan base, for the players, for the ownership. I'm fully committed to doing that this offseason. We're going to implement a plan. That plan is going to be a full staff evaluation on every single area that did not go the way it needed to for us to be successful this year, and make changes to ensure this doesn't happen again. We're going to look at the entire 53-man roster and see our deficiencies. Make sure we point out where we need to improve and actually make those improvements. Not having an interception all year is a historically bad outcome. That will not happen again. I'm going to bring a defensive coordinator in here who's going to put the defensive schemes necessary to be competitive and win games in the NFL in 2026. I'm going to bring players in here that fit what the New York Jets are about. High character guys, high motor guys, high IQ guys, Guys that will help us bring us to a level of respectability and success that the fans can be proud of. I'm going to dedicate everything I have as the head coach of the New York Jets to accomplish this. That to me is the answer. Like it's as simple as like that. And so you own your crap, but you say, look, it wasn't good. We got to be better, and we're going to be better, and we're going to do these things to be better. Talk less and then go do more. Like there's nothing else to be said after that. No more. Like just go do. Go get me better coaches as a fan. I want better coaching staff. Make me feel good about the quarterback plan, what you're going to have in place to support a rookie quarterback. Give me reasons to support you. I am a fan willing to support you to be successful at the job. I have not given up. I might be holding on to the rope with my fingertips, but I'm still holding on to the rope, AG. But now your job is to win over the vast majority of this fan base who doesn't see it. And the only way you're going to do that is by your actions. Better coaches. Better strategy with how you're talking to people about what you're going to do. Stop defending everything. Stop having this attitude that everyone's against you. If you want to have that attitude in the locker room, cool. It comes across terribly in press conferences when you're doing bad. It just does. Because I promise you, I want this team to win as badly as anybody. I'll be okay if you just show progress next year. But if this team is a 4-win or a 5-win team next year and looks rudderless, there's no way I can sit here and say, go for year 3 with this man. Right now, it's blind faith and hope. Things that you do in this offseason could potentially change blind faith and hope to tangible results that will make us feel better about what this team could be in the future. Anyway, that's my advice to Aaron Glenn. He doesn't need it because I'm just some idiot that does content. But as a fan, these are the things I'd like to see. I'm curious what you'd like to see. Put in the comments of the things that Aaron Glenn can do to change your perspective of what he can become as the head coach. Comment below. Let me know. Thanks, guys. Have a great one.